Hey everybody, it's Deanna and we are here live. Today I've got Brytta with Xanadu Yoga with me. How are you, Brytta?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you. I am so excited that you agreed to come on because I've been working with you. I worked with you during the Ignite program. So for 6 weeks, we met on a regular basis and I got to know you. It was so much fun. And I loved hearing everything that you do, and I think that you are really a great example of how COVID really impacted your business, how to make some adjustments, and you found a solution. Like you did it. So before we get ahead of ourselves, I just want you to take a minute and just tell it. Who are you, Brytta?
Yes. Hi, I am Brytta. I'm the founder of Xanadu Yoga. I am a world traveling yoga instructor. I have been traveling the world and teaching yoga. It was 5 years in July. So happy anniversary to me.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I started as an actress. I was living in New York City and I got an acting opportunity to study abroad in Greece. And I'm half Greek and I'm like, I have to do this. So I studied on the island of Idra. It's south of Athens. And in the middle of it, my director was like, we need someone to warm up the actors with yoga. Does anyone do yoga? And I'm like, well, I do yoga, so I'll teach yoga. And as soon as I taught the class, I'm like, I never want to do acting again. Like, I immediately saw the results in the students. And then I'm like, if I can do this on this Greek island, I can teach yoga on all of the islands. And I went back to New York, got my certifications. I stayed there for about a year and a half, like really just to get some teaching under my belt. And then I bought a one-way to Europe and I figured it out because something that like we don't talk about as yoga teachers is that in our teacher training, they teach you how to teach yoga. They do not teach you anything about the business side of yoga. It's just how it works. So I had to figure it out. Like I bought my one way to Europe and I studied at ashrams in Wales, like the where yoga really started, like that Eastern philosophy, because it was a family from India and it was all about the deities and just the practice of yoga. I went all over Europe and the UK and just got some solo travel under my belt. And then I found myself in Costa Rica teaching at a holistic
Oh my
jungle
God.
resort. And I was actually just talking to the owner last night. This is so funny because every time I go to Costa Rica, I visit her because she's just lovely. And I taught at her, she had an outdoor jungle shala. And I got to teach this beautiful yoga classes in the jungle. And I founded Xanadu Yoga about 2 weeks before and just booked a one way to Costa Rica and
Oh my
taught
gosh.
there. I met people from all over the world because Costa Rica is like this expat country. People from all over the world live there and travel there. And after that, I went back to New York and I really just started my online business. I got a coach who taught me how to build a beautiful yoga website, as their course was called. They're called the Yoga Nomads, and I'm dear friends with them. And they taught me everything I needed to know about an online business, and I have been doing it ever since. Since then, I have traveled to 18 countries teaching yoga in all of them. In places like Southeast Asia, in Thailand and Cambodia. I taught in refugee camps in Greece, which was just a really humbling experience. I taught for Boom Festival, which was the festival. It's in Portugal, but it's where Burning Man was inspired from. So I really just, it was this incredible experience. This is like something I really want to tell people. I applied to work at Boom Festival twice and was denied twice. And then their sup yoga teacher fell out of, like, they just couldn't do it a week before the festival and they hired me. And sometimes you just have to do that. Like I didn't know how I was going to make it work because I had just got back from Southeast Asia, but I'm like, I really wanted to teach here. My family's there and I made it work. So it's like, if sometimes you just have to keep trying and keep going. And like I said, that teacher couldn't do it anymore. And they called me and they're like, we know that you're in the United States, but can you please just come and teach? And I was like, absolutely. I made a great ton of money. I made connections from people from all over Europe. After that, I worked for Envision Festival, which is in Costa Rica again, and I am their journalist. So I literally get paid to work at Envision Festival to interview yoga teachers and musicians. That's my job there. And I get to go to the festival for free on top of it. So it's really great. I now have Xanadu Yoga. Xanadu means a magnificent or beautiful place of being anywhere in the world. So it's perfect as a traveling yoga teacher. I have 2 online courses. My first one is teaching yoga teachers how to become world traveling yoga teachers, because it's one thing to just go abroad, but it's another thing of like learning how to build your resume, your website, your interview, your audition for things abroad, how to eat healthy abroad. That is so important, especially like when
Yeah.
your body's getting used to like new food groups in a different country. And I have a new course launching on September 15th. It's called the Manage, Sale, and Lead Society. I have managed many yoga studios throughout the United States. I helped open the first fitness mall in the United States. It's called Studios Fuse. It's in Chicago. If you've been to Chicago, it's very cold there. So you do all your fitness in one building. You have yoga, you have boot camp, you have cardio, and then you have like a really fun sport like surf yoga or ping pong. And then there's like a
Oh
juice
my
bar
gosh, that sounds
inside.
like fun.
So like you don't go outside, you could just stay warm, and it's great. I was the assistant manager there and the director of events. And then I got some managing under my belt. I moved to Boston because my cousins live there, and I managed 2 studios for Yoga Works. And I started out with a tiny studio in the suburbs. It was drowning. I got it above water, back to making money, and they promoted me to manage the second largest studio within their company and the largest one on the East Coast. So I went from
Wow.
managing about 7 people to 125 overnight, and I had to figure that out on my own. I didn't have much training, and I think that's really good. Like, just I love just being put in that like hot water and like figure it out, like do
Yeah.
this on your own. And I sure did. And now I'm launching a course on it because, like I said, yoga teachers, we're taught how to teach yoga, but we're not taught how to lead. We're not taught how to manage. We're not taught how to travel. And these are skills
Yeah.
we need to have because we need to be 10-dimensional yoga teachers.
You know,
That's me.
and you know what? Yeah, you're absolutely right. I want to back it up a little bit because you listed all the countries that you travel to, and you bought a one-way ticket to go there to do yoga.
Mhm.
Were you scared? Did you think about it, or was it just like, I'm going to do this, and you just did it?
Um, I think my first one way to Europe, I really just wanted to get out of New York. So I wasn't scared. I don't recall being scared. I recall other people in my life being scared for me. But I just wanted to do it. And I did.
Good for you. Good for you. So now you have this traveling yoga business, right? And COVID happens, and
Hmm.
we're no longer allowed to travel, right? So
Yes.
like international borders are closed and everything is shutting down. Yoga studios are shutting down all over the world.
This is
What,
true.
what was that like for you at that moment? Because your whole business is based around yoga studios, being in person with people, and then traveling. So what were your thoughts, those initial thoughts when that happened?
I was a little bit in denial when it first started. I was 2 days before I was booked to go back to Costa Rica, the borders closed. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is awful. And I feel like everyone had that first like couple weeks or even months for some people of just like denial and not wanting to admit this is happening. But then you realize that like you have to continue making money and you have to continue building your business. And I taught online. I had Skype yoga for a long time and I kind of just switched it over to Zoom. And something I did is I really just grabbed feedback from my audience. I'm like, what time works for you? Every yoga teacher, like they teach during the day. I'm a night person, so I teach night owl yoga now. That's what I call it. And it's Tuesdays at 9 and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I started doing that and I charge like a normal rate for it because I want it to be accessible to everyone. So I'm doing that twice a week. And it's also just a really great time to connect with people. Like this is the first time I've been able to go to yoga classes with people I've wanted to from all over the world. So that was really exciting, like connecting with friends that I've met online, but not in real life.
Yeah.
And I really was like, I had some courses and some things I wanted to build. And I'm like, okay, like this is the time to like step back and not travel and really work on myself and work on my business. So I built my new online course. It's launching on September 15th. And yes, this course is all about teaching yoga studio managers how to step into their leadership and manage a successful yoga studio. And yoga studios have been shutting down in the United States, but as someone who travels the world and teach yoga, the rest of the world is now opening. Yoga studios are now opening. So I'm able to connect with people from all over the world and just give them tips on like how they need to manage their studios. And with managing yoga studios, I think it's one thing to like make money, sell memberships, get new teachers, new students in the door, but it's another thing to lead and to teach people. Like, we have to set an example and lead by an example, because the yoga industry, it's time to grow. And if we want it to grow, we have to be the ones leading that.
So what's the biggest mistake you see yoga studio owners making when it comes to how they're managing their studios?
I think the biggest mistake they're making is only making their yoga studio accessible to one type of person. They're either charging $35 to $40 per class, so it's really only for wealthy people, or they're only letting, how do I say this? They're only letting privileged people in through the door. When yoga started in India, it's kind of like a cultural appropriation thing that's been happening in the yoga industry. And I think we need to really step back and learn about where our practice came from and make it accessible to people who might not be able to afford those classes. And something I learned as soon as I went into that larger yoga studio is I had a lot of people of color immediately cancel their memberships because they said, you only have one type of person teaching and working at this yoga studio. I don't feel like I am represented here. And that's a huge issue with yoga studios, especially in the United States. And I took that feedback, and my cat's meowing, I apologize.
It's all right.
And I took that feedback and immediately changed up the staff, changed up the teachers, reached out to the higher ups of the company. I'm like, we need to change this immediately, because we say we're all inclusive. We say we're for all bodies. Therefore, we need to actually be that. And even a couple weeks ago, someone was like, hey, like, you say you're for all bodies, but you don't have a class for blind people. And I'm like, you're right, I don't. And I need to work on that. And I think that's something as yoga teachers is like to really like, you know, I did mess up on that. Here's how I'm going to fix it. And I think if we own our mistakes, then we can grow. So I think that's what yoga studios need to do right now, is like own up what we didn't do and start doing it.
Great advice. Really great advice. And why do you think that is?
Why that's happening?
Why do you think that typically in the United States, there's not a ton of diversity? Maybe I'm putting you on the hot seat asking you that, but like, what do you hear? Like, why do you think that is? Is there just not an interest to teach from those that maybe are blind, or they don't have the ideal weight, or they're different color? Or, like, why do you think it's not like that?
This is a great question. I think there's two things. I think the first thing is yoga studio spaces are really expensive to rent or to own. Therefore, the rent might be $100,000 a month. And so you're charging $35 to $40 for a class simply because you need to pay the rent. And it's not clicking with you as to like, this isn't accessible to everyone then. I think the other thing is that, like I said, in teacher training, we're only taught about the body and anatomy. We're not taught about, you know, other communities we can reach out to. Yoga is defined as to yoke, to unionize, therefore bringing community and people together. And I think we forget that this yoga is for everyone. And I think it's a privilege thing too. You know, we're all like in our lives and in our business, and we're not always willing to look up and see who is around us. And I think if we just step out of our box and say hello and get to know another community, then that's why that's happening, is that we're just stuck in all of our busyness when we just need to. I think that's kind of why, I don't want to say why COVID happened, but maybe COVID was a chance for us to wake up a little bit and see like there are other people who don't look like us, don't speak like us, aren't our same body size, and we need to be accepting of everyone and teach yoga to everyone.
I think that's great advice, whether you're in yoga or just living. I think that really is good advice that we can all take in. And so thank you for sharing that. So how did you know, once COVID happened and 2 days before you were supposed to leave for Costa Rica, right? The borders shut, and now you were in denial. How did you mentally snap out of it and say, okay, wait a second, like, I need to refocus and do something else? Did you do it? Did somebody kick you in the butt? Like, was it just, did everything, like, what made you?
I was working for 2 yoga studios at the time in Manhattan, one in Manhattan, one in Brooklyn. And one of them was like, studios closing immediately, like, we need to take this online. And the other one was complete opposite. COVID's not happening. We're going to keep having classes. And I think that's what caused my denial a little bit. And then people just stopped showing up for classes. I had to tell students, and the ones who did show up, I had to tell them, I'm sorry, you can't use our props. And that really bothered me as a teacher. Like, I couldn't let them use the things that are made for the yoga practice. And I'm like, this is no longer accessible. This is stressing people out more. People need to go home, and we need to, like, we're collectively stressed out right now. Therefore, we need to do yoga at home online. And everyone has Zoom. Everyone can take these classes, and you can make it more, I guess, more for everyone, because on Zoom you can have like 1,000 people in your class at once. It's great. Whereas in a yoga studio, you might be able to have 25. So I'm like, oh, this is like a great opportunity to have more students. Let's do it. And again, really grabbing that feedback, like that night out yoga I'm doing, I ask my students first, like, you might have a really good idea, and then your students are like, absolutely not. And you need to do what your students want, so they will continue taking your classes.
Was that a pretty easy transition for you, since you had done yoga on Skype? So then it really wasn't that challenging to just transition. I love that you saw the value of bringing things online. There really is no choice at this point. But I, based off of what you said, I saw a lot of people very similar to those 2 yoga studios that you mentioned in New York. One was embracing the online and saying, okay, we need to make some adjustments to what our business looks like. So we're going to go online. And even though this isn't what we normally do, this is something what we have to do right now if we still want to reach people. And the other one didn't do anything. Maybe it's denial, but they just were like, I'm just going to wait it out and it'll go away.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought it would go away. I'm not even going to lie. Like, I mean, I'm online anyhow, but in March, when they made the announcement, because the week we were leaving for Italy and Germany is when the borders closed. So similar situation with you, we had our bags packed, ready to go. And they shut everything down. And never in my wildest dreams did I think we'd be here in September and things would still be affecting so many businesses and affecting our livelihood and just how we do things. I never imagined it would go this long. So yeah, it's just crazy.
I'm with you.
Yeah, but I liked how you have to, and that's the key thing with business, right? I mean, even with living, but you know, when things do change, then we have to figure out how to adjust. And you went online, which is great, you know, but you were used to that. So for somebody who maybe they're listening and maybe it was that yoga studio or any small business, right, who has not gone online, who's still waiting for things to change, and maybe they have dabbled a little bit with going online if they're a yoga studio, right? Maybe they've gone on for a little bit. What advice do you have for them to do when it really is outside of what their normal practice is?
So if you're absolutely, I didn't know at first when I first started my online business. So I hired a coach, and then I worked with you as my social media coach. And I think that's just what we need to do, especially not even as yoga teachers, but as like business owners. Hire someone who will work with you, or someone who will build your website for you, or just like build your website and teach you like what you need to know about it so you can continue your business. Because doing things online is super intimidating at first if you are not into tech. But then they have things like WordPress and Squarespace and Wix that are just like drag and drop situations that are super easy. But you really want to be the person who knows your business and behind it. So again, hire a coach, someone who knows what they are doing, the people who have made those mistakes that you don't have to, who have learned the lessons the hard way so you don't have to. Hire someone like yourself who can just give you that one-on-one coaching or group coaching, whatever they need, to learn how to build a website, learn how to build social media, how to use Canva to promote it, just little things like that, so they can actually immediately continue their business, so it doesn't have to go on a pause.
Well, thank you for that shout out. I wasn't fishing for it, but I absolutely love it. But I will say, as a coach, as your social media coach, because you signed up for the Ignite courses with me. So for 6 weeks, we worked together and went over everything from social media to website and SEO and email campaigns. And as a coach, I will tell you that every time I saw a little adjustment of things that you were doing and putting it in line, like I am like, yes, like this is awesome. Like keep doing it. And then you would email me saying, oh my gosh, like I'm doing this and it's working. And then it was like even more of a celebration. So yeah, it's really cool. Exactly. Exactly. So you've had this time now to work on your course. Beth Ann said, great information. Thank you, Beth Ann. I'm so glad you're joining us today. Um, you've taken some time to work on a new course that's actually getting launched September 15th. So tell me, what is this course about? Who is this course for?
Absolutely. So it's called the Managed Sale and Lead Society, the MSLS, and this is for yoga studio managers or owners or anyone in the yoga industry who dreams of leading. And this course, it's 8 modules with 3 bonus modules, and it's everything you need to know about setting up your yoga studio for success in sales, to set up your team for success. So training them in a way that if you went on vacation for a week, your team is good for that whole week. It's learning how to communicate in a direct but also compassionate way. That way, nothing is floating in the air, everything is crystal clear. It's learning how to sell. I love selling. I think it's like a game. I get so excited about it. And I created role plays for everyone to learn how to have that dialogue. So just like in yoga, we have to dialogue with our students. It's the same when selling them memberships and things that will keep our lights on and our doors open, especially in the time of COVID-19 where we are just reopening our yoga studios and desperately need to keep those doors open and the students coming back. It's teaching them all about COVID-19 and safety plans in the fitness and yoga industry. This is so important. It's learning to lead from a place that is of love and of leadership rather than fear, because when we are relaxed, our team and our students are relaxed and they're going to want to come back. And then my bonus section is all about just supporting our yoga teachers. As someone who is a yoga teacher but has also managed, I didn't know the support that I needed as a yoga teacher because I wasn't given the language to support myself, if that makes sense. And then I became a manager and I realized like there are things that yoga teachers need to get paid bi-weekly because yoga studios try to pay people, everyone on the 5th of the month. That's not okay. So we needed to start teaching yoga teachers how to stand up for themselves, how to ask for support. We need to start teaching managers how to set aside office hours for their teachers so those conversations aren't happening at the front desk in front of students, but rather at a time when you can be present with them. So this course is all of that. If you take it, you also get an affiliate link. So you make a commission for every person that you refer and signs up for the course. And you also get a chance to work with me one-on-one if there are specific questions you have about your yoga studio, about growing a specific type of student community, or just anything you want to know about, teacher training. How do I run yoga studio auditions? How do I do grassroots campaigns and partnerships with my neighborhood? Things like that. That's my course.
I love it. I love it. How can they sign up? I know right now it's not on your website, but
yes.
what can they do?
I'm so excited. So they can go on xanaduyoga.com/work with me, or just go to xanaduyoga.com and click on work with me. And it says a new course is launching soon and you can book a call with me to get yourself set up for it. It's a free 20-minute call. You can tell me all about your yoga studio, your dreams of being a leader in the yoga studio, and then we'll just get you set up and you'll be taking the course with me and I'll be there to just guide you and answer any questions you have.
I love it. And I think there's such a need for this because I've worked with yoga studios in the past and they are awesome. I mean, is that your cat again?
Yeah. You've had treats already. Okay. You're good.
It's a loud cat.
Yes,
and they're so nice. And I mean, every yoga person that I've worked with, right, that they own a studio, they have a kind heart, a very soft heart. But I think sometimes that it's easy to take advantage of people that have that kind of a heart, and especially in business, it's hard to set those boundaries. And I'm sure there's a lot of yoga studio owners that are great at setting boundaries, right? But more times than not, when you see someone and they're just trying to like help everybody else because that's what you're taught, right? You're very giving. I think it's easy to take advantage of them. So this is pretty cool that you've created this course that they can take and then work with you and learn how to set up their business on the business end.
Absolutely. And I agree with the boundary setting. I think that's definitely a skill you have to learn. I had to learn it when I managed yoga studios. Like,
I
these
had
are
to
my
learn
office
it.
hours. Yeah, like you have to sleep, you have to establish boundaries so you can take care of yourself, because when we take care of
Yeah.
ourselves, we can grow those yoga communities.
Yes, I love it. Well, Brytta, thank you so much for coming on today. I love I love working with you, first off. I absolutely loved working with you. I'm so grateful because your mom is the one who actually introduced us, and I adore your mom. And I think she spoke about you for years before you and I actually connected. So I felt like I knew you. But it really, it's been a pleasure working with you. I love seeing everything you're doing. You are amazing. And I told your mom this, and that whatever you end up doing, like, you are just somebody that has that fire in you that you're not going to settle. It's going to be amazing. And I love seeing it. And I can't wait to see exactly everything that you do with this. So thank you so much for coming on. I absolutely appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me, and everyone who has been listening. Thank you all so much. This has been an amazing opportunity. I love connecting and chatting this way. So thank you for having me. And thank you
You're
for
welcome.
having my cat as well.
Your loud cat in
Sorry.
the back.
But yeah, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here.
Oh, well, thank you. All right, guys, we will catch you next Wednesday, and have a great rest of the week. Bye.